Hi there. Today I'm going to show you how to create a graph in Microsoft Excel with two separate vertical axes. Sometimes you want to plot data from two data series on the same graph, but the data series can have different scales. So some of the numbers could be quite small, other numbers quite large. And the way to show that adequately on a graph is to create two vertical axes. In Excel terminology, we call the second axis a secondary axis. So I'm going to enter the data into my Excel spreadsheet first, and once I've got the data in there, I'll show you how to create the chart. So our first column of data is going to be the horizontal axis data. So in this case, it's year that we want to be the horizontal axis, and then we're going to have wolf population and deer population for our two column headings. I'm just going to make these columns a little bit wider to fit my titles, and then I'm going to go ahead and enter the data, and then we'll make the graph. So now I've entered my data with the years in the first column and then the wolf population and the deer population in the next columns. You can see that the numbers for the wolf population are very small numbers, all under 30, and the numbers of the deer population are much larger numbers. So if we were to put those on the same scale, as you'll see in a moment, then you won't really be able to see the wolf population data because the scale makes those numbers too small. So to create the graph, what we do is we highlight our three columns of data. I'm highlighting not only the data itself, but the titles of the data, and that will help with creating a legend. And then what we want to do is insert a scatter graph. So I click the Insert menu, and I get under my charts, there's lots of different chart options. I'm going to point to the one that says scatter graph, and if I click the drop down box, I've got these options, and I'm going to choose this option. You can see that the chart actually updates as you hover over the different options. So there's my graph, and it's the graph is not bad, except the problem is that we can clearly see the deer population because the numbers are quite large there, but it looks like the wolf population is down almost at zero because of the scale that we're using on the vertical axis. So we want to change that and have two different axes. So one axis will be on the left hand side and another axis for the other population on the right hand side. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select a layout for my chart. You can see that right now there's no axis title, so no place to put the axis title. There's a chart title placeholder here, but no axis titles. I don't mind having my legend down here at the bottom, but there's various options to choose from. So you see here at the top that there's some tools, chart tools, and the first menu in the chart tools area is design. So I'm going to hit design. I can actually change the layout of my graph, and these dark ones look really nice, but they're not so good for printing. So you can choose a layout that you like the look of, but that's also going to look good when it's printed. There's plenty to choose from here. So I'm going to choose that one. And then under quick layout, over here, quick layout, you can choose different layout options. And so some of these options have a place for the axes titles, like that one, for example. So you can kind of hover over these and find one that you like the look of. I kind of like this one. It's got, well, let's have a look and see. Some of the ones have data labels. That one looks pretty good there. It doesn't have a chart title though. So let's find one with a chart title. I'll choose this one right here. So simple layout. It's got a spot for the chart title, axis titles here, and it's got a legend at the side and two different colors. So there's the layout that I want to use. So the next thing is to create this secondary axis on this side. So to do that, we make sure that we've got the chart tools bar here at the top. So the chart has to be selected for these tools to show up. So if you haven't got it selected, mine's already selected, but if yours is not selected, then select the chart by clicking on it. And then these options will show up here. So we want to go to Format. So we click this Format, and over here there's a drop down box, and we can choose from here what we want to format. So if I click on this drop down box, I've got a number of things to choose from. And what we want to do is we want to make the deer population be on the secondary or right hand axis. The wolf population we're going to leave on the left axis where it is already, and the deer population we're going to create a secondary axis. So I click on deer population and it shows up in the box there, and then right underneath that we've got a button that says Format Selection. So I'm going to click on Format Selection, and I get this side menu opens up here, and I click Secondary Axis, and it creates a secondary axis, and pretty much I'm done. So you can see that it automatically scales the secondary axis. You can change this if you want to make changes to it. You can right click on there and format that axis label, but it does a pretty good job of scaling the two axes. And now you can see that the wolf population, which is the blue line, has axes labels on the left hand side that are the small numbers, and the deer population on the right hand side has axes which are much larger numbers. And then we can compare these two graphs quite nicely. One other thing you can do, I always like to do this when I'm creating charts in Excel, is you can move the chart so that it's got its own tab down here at the bottom. You can see right here at the bottom it says Sheet 1. At the moment that's where our data is, and the graph is right on Sheet 1. But I can make its own tab down at the bottom. So to do that, I click on Chart Title. Sorry, on the chart again. I hit the Design button in the Chart Tools, and way over here at the right there's a button that says Move Chart. So I'm going to click Move Chart, and I'm going to choose New Sheet. I can call it Graph if I want, or whatever I want to call it, and hit OK. And now my graph is on its own separate sheet. Down here at the bottom you can see it says Graph. I can go back to my data by clicking on Sheet 1, go to my graph by clicking on Graph. So now I can type in my titles. I just click on these axes titles and type in what I want, and I can click on the chart title and choose a suitable title, and then my graph is ready to go with comparisons, and I can print it out when I'm ready. Okay, so that's it. That's how you create a secondary graph axis in Microsoft Excel.